Apex predators trapped in pools, power restrained until they aren't. In captivity, their instincts twisted in silence, and the trust trainers clung to could vanish in an instant. Today, we'll reveal 3 of the most shocking orca attacks ever recorded, horrifying incidents that expose the deadly consequences of confining these apex predators, where trust is fragile and control can vanish in an instant.
"911, what is your emergency?"
Help! Our trainer Jessica! She is being attacked by an orca!
Jessica Radcliffe stepped onto the platform, unaware her final moments had begun. Beside her, Mallow, the 12,000-pound orca she trusted, rose from the water. Then came the splash, the scream, the red tide. Dragged beneath the surface, Jessica entered a nightmare she would never escape. Witnesses remember the chaos vividly. A geyser of water shot into the air, spraying spectators and signaling the start of something horrifying. Parents clutched their children, phones were raised, fingers trembling as disbelief froze the crowd. Some thought it was a trick gone wrong, some hoped it was staged. Something was terribly wrong. Shadows twisted beneath the surface. The pool boiled with turbulence, white froth masking what was happening below. Trainers on the sidelines shouted, their voices drowned out by the roar of water and the shrieks of onlookers. Every second dragged, tension building, the audience trapped between denial and dread. Then Mallow breached again. The truth surfaced with him. In his jaws was Jessica Radcliffe. Her body looked small against the orca's massive frame. The water, once pristine, now swirled with crimson. Her wetsuit hung in tatters, her limbs slack, thrashing only when Mallow jerked her like a rag doll. Crowds screamed. Some tried to intervene from the platform, but Mallow's sheer force pushed them back. For over a minute, Jessica fought against a predator who seemed to know exactly how to hold her beneath the waves. If you think you understand where this story ends, you don't. Not yet. Make sure to like and subscribe, because the full truth of what happened that day lies deeper than the pool Mallow called his prison. Jessica wasn't reckless. She wasn't seeking thrills. She was meticulous, a perfectionist, a marine biologist whose life revolved around routine and understanding. From childhood, the ocean shaped her, the tides, the currents, and the silent communication of marine life. Her father taught her how to read the waters, how to spot signs of life beneath the surface, and how to respect the power of nature. She had grown up believing she could understand and perhaps even tame the wild. Her first encounter with an orca changed everything. At 12, she watched one breach into the sky, its black and white body glistening in sunlight. The roar of the crowd, the majesty of the creature. It called to her. She didn't just want to watch. She wanted to be there. She wanted to train them, to understand them, to connect with them. Years of study, internships, and hands-on work at marine parks led her to Mallow, Ocean Haven's star orca, towering, powerful, temperamental. He had been captured young, trained for performances, and forced into routines. He knew every cue, every spin, every leap. But he also had moods no human could predict. Other trainers whispered about him. He lunged at the staff. He ignored commands. He thrashed violently during feeding. Some called him unpredictable. Some feared him. Some begged management to limit his interactions with humans. And management always said the same thing. He's our biggest attraction. We can't risk removing him from the shows. But with Jessica, Mallow behaved differently. He seemed calm, responsive, and even affectionate. She called him her big boy and believed their bond could withstand his instincts. She believed love and routine could tame a 12,000-pound predator. She meticulously recorded his behaviors, noting mood changes, feeding preferences, and reactions to commands. Yet cracks were beginning to show. Mallow had moments of aggression that no bond could prevent. He lunged at other trainers. He slammed against the tank walls with terrifying force. One junior trainer filed an internal report. Another requested that he be removed from live performances. All of these warnings were ignored. The week before the tragedy, Jessica confided in a colleague. "He's just moody lately, but he knows me. He wouldn't hurt me." She was wrong. July 6, 2011, a sunlit California afternoon. Ocean Haven was packed with over 2,000 guests. Children clutched stuffed orcas. Cameras clicked. The ice cream melted. The announcer introduced Jessica and Mallow. She stepped onto the platform, smiling, confident, unaware that this day would end in horror. The show began perfectly. Mallow followed every cue. Spins, splashes, leaps, a flawless performance. Then came the final routine, their synchronized swim. Jessica dove in. Mallow circled. It was a crowd favorite, a routine they had performed dozens of times, but Mallow stopped circling. He rose behind her and in a flash clamped his jaws around her torso. She didn't scream. Not a sound escaped. The water exploded into chaos. Crowds shrieked, parents shielded children, cameras shook, trainers scrambled, throwing buoys, fish and poles, desperately shouting commands. Mallow ignored them all. For over 30 minutes, he held her beneath the surface. Every thrash was deliberate, calculated, almost ritualistic. It was not blind rage. It was purposeful. He spun her, pulled her away from the air, and dragged her deeper into the pool. And when he finally released her, she floated lifeless. Her ribs were crushed, her spine fractured, her lungs filled with water, her body bore marks of prolonged, methodical violence. If you think the horror ends here, you're mistaken. Make sure to like and subscribe because the next moments reveal the grim reality no one outside the park ever saw. The official statement called it a tragic accident, but insiders knew the truth. Mallow had shown warning signs for years. Internal reports documented his aggression, his unpredictability, his violent outbursts during shows and feeding sessions. Management had dismissed every warning in favor of profit and spectacle. Mallow wasn't new to tragedy. Before Jessica, he had been implicated in previous incidents. He had seriously injured staff, dragged them underwater, and left scars and bruises in his wake. But those incidents were quietly buried, classified as accidents, nothing to alarm the public. To the guests, Mallow was a showpiece, somewhat of a star. Behind the scenes, he was a predator learning, waiting, and calculating. Every cheer from the bleachers, every gesture from trainers, every slip or moment of vulnerability, Mallow recorded it all. Not trained, not performing, watching, learning, waiting. The aftermath was devastating. News crews swarmed Ocean Haven. Animal rights groups protested. Former trainers spoke out about abuse, silenced warnings, and the culture of fear. Ocean Haven closed within 6 months. Mallow was relocated to a semi-wild sanctuary, far from trainers and crowds, forced into confinement. But the questions lingered. Was this instinct? Or did Mallow understand exactly what he was doing? Was it a final act of revenge for a lifetime of confinement and forced performances? Some whispered it was rage, others, vengeance. The trauma of being torn from his pod, imprisoned in concrete and performing endlessly for applause, did it fuel his actions? And did Jessica, in her trust and love, misjudge the line between human connection and wild instinct? Mallow remained a cautionary tale. Experts warned about the dangers of human interaction with apex predators. Trainers were never allowed in the water with him again. The public never saw the full footage of the attack, the evidence sealed by legal and corporate hands. The horror of Jessica's final moments was more than physical. It was a warning, a lesson about the fragility of trust, the danger of ignoring instincts, the cruelty of confining the wild for entertainment. Even today, those who witnessed the attack speak of it with a haunted reverence. The bond Jessica believed could protect her was shattered. Mallow vanished beneath the waves, taking Jessica with him, leaving only questions and whispers in his wake. Across the country, Ken Peters would step into the water, unaware that something just as silent and calculating was waiting for him. He had worked with orcas for years, trusted them, loved them, but in one terrifying moment, everything changed, and what happened next was caught on camera. This is the shocking attack on Ken Peters.
A SeaWorld trainer is recovering today after a terrifying ordeal in front of a horrified audience.
It was just another sunny afternoon at SeaWorld San Diego. On November 29, 2006, veteran trainer Ken Peters prepared for a routine performance in front of a live audience. The star of the show, a 7,000-pound killer whale named Kasatka, a 30-year-old female and one of SeaWorld's most prized performers. Ken had worked with her for over a decade. They had history, trust. She was considered reliable, experienced, and predictable. But beneath her calm surface, something was brewing. The crowd settled in, music played. Ken entered the water. Kasatka followed. Their movements were synchronized, Ken diving under her belly, Kasatka lifting him gently with her rostrum. A choreography of trust, honed over the years, rehearsed, polished, and seamless, until it wasn't. Just minutes into the show, Kasatka's body language shifted. She started circling. Her vocalizations grew louder, piercing bursts of echolocation that didn't match her usual cadence, shrill, uneven, tense. Then, without warning, she dived and took Ken with her. If you're starting to sense that something isn't right, you're not alone. Like the video, share it, and subscribe, because what comes next isn't just rare. It's been buried. It's about more than just one attack, more than just one boat. It's about an entire industry built on silence, where the real danger doesn't scream, it whispers, and by the time you hear it, it's already too late. At first, the audience thought it was part of the act, a dramatic dive, a suspenseful pause, but seconds ticked by, then a full minute, still underwater.
Let him go, picked him up, took him down again.
People began to murmur. Parents looked around nervously. Ken wasn't surfacing. In the control room, the staff was in a state of panic. On the video, you can hear someone on the radio. "Get ready to send someone in, now." Kasatka had clamped down on Ken's foot, and she wasn't letting go. Underwater, he was being pulled deeper and deeper, more than 30 feet below the surface. Visibility was low, communication impossible. He tried to stay calm, controlled his breathing. Years of training were now the only thing keeping him alive. When they finally surfaced, over a minute later, Ken managed a breath. But Kasatka wasn't finished. She dove again, harder this time, and for longer. This attack wasn't random, it wasn't new. Kasatka had a history, one that SeaWorld knew about. Back in 1993, she had lunged at a trainer during a performance, grabbing his arm and dragging him across the pool. No serious injuries were reported. But that wasn't the only red flag. In private sessions, she had shown signs of agitation, sudden lunges, unusual vocal patterns. Trainers reported her being moody, especially when her calf, Takara, was nearby. Mood swings, unpredictable behavior, repeated refusals to perform basic commands. But SeaWorld kept her in the rotation. She was a crowd favorite, and Ken Peters was considered one of the best. Still, that day, even he was caught off guard. Kasatka wasn't just playing rough, she was making a statement. If you're stunned by this attack so far, just wait. What Ken survives next is almost too brutal to believe. And if you want to see how deep this silence really goes, like the video, subscribe and stay with us. By now, Ken had been dragged under 3 separate times, each one longer, each one deeper. But he didn't panic. He didn't thrash or scream. He kept his arms tucked in, avoided eye contact. Every movement he made was strategic. He knew Kasatka could sense his heartbeat and feel his tension. If he fought back, if he resisted, it could trigger something far worse. When they surfaced again, he tried to calmly signal the control team. Kasatka allowed it. But the moment he began swimming toward the edge, she struck again. Grabbing his foot once more, she yanked him under with terrifying speed. This time she held him at the bottom. Trainers watching later estimated he was submerged for over 70 seconds. The video shows bubbles rising, no movement. Then, suddenly, he's released. He floats to the top, gasping, bleeding from his foot. And yet, somehow he's still composed. It's easy to blame Kasatka. But the truth is far more complicated. Kasatka was born in the wild, captured in Iceland in 1978 when she was just a calf. She never saw her family again. For 28 years, she had lived in tanks, performing tricks for food, giving birth in captivity, and being shuffled around different SeaWorld facilities. Isolated, artificially confined, cut off from natural rhythms. Experts now believe that whales like Kasatka experience profound psychological stress in captivity. And when those stresses reach a boiling point, they lash out. This wasn't mindless aggression. It was frustration. It was trauma. It was a warning. After nearly 10 minutes of struggle, trainers managed to get a stretcher into the pool. Ken saw his chance. He made one final swim, broken foot and all, toward the side of the tank. Kasatka let him go. He was rushed to the hospital with deep puncture wounds, a broken metatarsal, and hypothermia. But he survived, miraculously. SeaWorld quietly cancelled the rest of the show that day. No press release, no public statement, just silence. Ken Peters wasn't the only trainer to suffer. And Kasatka, she would go on to live for another 11 years in captivity. The footage of the attack was kept from the public for years. Only later, during the OSHA investigation into SeaWorld after Dawn Brancheau's death, did it surface. And when it did, it shocked the world. Ken Peters never blamed Kasatka. He testified in court that he understood the risks, but he also admitted, quietly, solemnly, that things needed to change.
I think if anybody came here and saw how we interact with the whales and see how the whales are treated, they would realize that these guys live fun and stimulating lives.
Kasatka died in 2017 from a bacterial infection. She had spent nearly 4 decades in concrete tanks. And Ken, he never returned to water work. They say trainers know the risks. These whales love their handlers. That attacks are rare. But the truth, when a 7,000-pound predator snaps, there's no warning, only silence. Then the water turns red. Ken survived, but the shadows of what lurked beneath the surface followed him. Thousands of miles away in Tenerife, Alexis Martinez would face a predator whose quiet patience was far more dangerous than any visible aggression.
A killer whale grabbed a trainer who'd always dreamed of working with orcas.
The world was in shock when another beloved trainer, Alexis Martinez, lost his life during a session with the orca Kato. What happened in those final moments remains deeply unsettling, and the truth is darker than anyone could imagine.
Se quejaba de eso, de estar cansado, y yo pues le intentaba quitar un poco de...
The world was still reeling from the brutal death of Dawn Brancheau when another tragedy struck, one that was quietly buried beneath the surface. Alexis Martinez was 29 years old, in the prime of his life, full of passion, ambition, and an unwavering love for animals. To the world, he was a marine mammal trainer. But to those who knew him, he was so much more, compassionate, driven, and deeply respected. Alexis had dedicated his adult life to understanding the creatures he worked with every single day. He worked at Loro Parque, a marine zoo in Tenerife, one of Spain's Canary Islands, a popular tourist destination known for its beaches, warm climate, and ocean attractions. Alexis had been with the park for years, becoming one of its most skilled trainers. He was selected to work directly with the orcas, a role requiring intense dedication, physical strength, and absolute trust between human and animal. At just 29, he had already spent years building trust with these massive, intelligent animals, especially Quito, a young male orca. The orcas at Loro Parque weren't wild. They were bred and trained in captivity. Young, powerful whales transferred from SeaWorld Orlando under a breeding and loan agreement. Among those whales was Quito, a large male already showing signs of independence and unpredictability. Still, Alexis remained confident. Known to be calm under pressure and deeply attuned to the animal's moods and behaviors, his colleagues described him as committed and fearless, the kind of trainer you wanted by your side during the most difficult sessions. Trainers noted Quito was physically impressive, long, muscular and dominant, but emotionally distant. His behavior was often unpredictable. At times he refused to follow cues. At others he became unresponsive or showed signs of aggression. Internal reports flagged these issues, yet the pressures of show schedules and public demand meant Quito remained in regular rotation, in performances and waterwork sessions. Just weeks before the incident, Quito had shown troubling signs. He had become less reliable in responding to hand signals. He acted more independently, sometimes ignoring trainers during rehearsals. During one session, he exhibited body language that made other trainers uneasy, surfacing without being asked, exhaling sharply and deviating from routine movements. Despite these behaviors, Quito was still deemed safe for close contact work. No one had ever been seriously injured by him. He had never attacked a trainer before. The assumption was he was simply moody, temperamental but manageable. But in captivity, assumptions can be deadly. In just a few hours, Quito would remind everyone how little control humans truly have over a 6,600-pound predator confined to a pool. The warning signs had been there all along. Trainers had documented concerning behaviors from Quito for months. In any other high-risk industry, these would have triggered a serious re-evaluation of safety protocols. But in marine entertainment, where performance schedules and public image take precedence, those warnings were quietly absorbed, rationalized, and ultimately ignored. But on December 24, 2009, just hours before a planned Christmas show, something went wrong. That day, Martinez was in the water, rehearsing an underwater routine with Quito. It was supposed to be smooth, familiar, routine, but from the beginning, the orca wasn't responding as expected. He ignored signals, refused to follow the cues. Other trainers intervened, trying desperately to regain control. For a brief moment, there was hope. Quito surfaced. He took a breath. Then he plunged down to the bottom of the pool, where Alexis Martinez still was. In the next few moments, which must have felt like an eternity, Quito pinned Martinez underwater, not with aggression, but with terrifying force. Using the tip of his snout, the whale held him down. The water grew still, then red. Attempts were made to distract Quito, to lure him away. A net was finally used to separate him from the trainer's body, but it was too late. When they recovered Alexis Martinez, he was already gone. An official autopsy by the Canary Islands authorities revealed stark, devastating findings. This was no mere accident, no misjudged maneuver. Alexis died from catastrophic injuries, leaving little doubt about the violence of the attack. The report described severe blunt force trauma to the chest and abdomen. Multiple ribs were broken, some snapped in half, and there were fractures in the sternum and vertebrae. The immense pressure from Quito's impact tore through Alexis's internal organs. His liver was ruptured, a wound usually seen only in high-speed car crashes or crushing trauma. There was massive hemorrhaging throughout his abdominal cavity. Both lungs had collapsed. The report also showed signs of drowning. Despite his swimming experience, Alexis never stood a chance. Quito's attack rendered him instantly incapacitated, stripped of the ability to fight back or scream for help. But the autopsy went beyond the physical injuries. It pointed to a broader failure of operational safety. According to Canary Islands labor authorities, Alexis's death was a workplace accident caused by exposure to an unsafe animal, one known for aggression. This raised urgent questions. If Quito showed warning signs, why was he allowed in close contact training? Why was Alexis in the water with an animal flagged as difficult to control? Martinez became one of only 4 people in recorded history to be killed by a captive orca. But what caused Keto, a whale trained daily, controlled and rehearsed, to snap? Some argue it was confusion, others say it was frustration, but many believe it was something far deeper, a psychological fracture born of captivity. Keto wasn't born in the wild, he was born in SeaWorld, shipped to Loro Parque as part of a breeding and performance agreement, and like Tilikum, Keto had lived his life in artificial conditions, small tanks, choreographed routines, and isolation from the natural rhythms of the ocean. He wasn't just performing, he was surviving. Was it aggression or a mistake? The incident was kept quiet, too quiet. Only after Dawn Broncho's death did the full details come to light. Loro Parque and SeaWorld initially downplayed the cause. They framed it as a trainer error, not a system failure. But behind the scenes, trainers knew the truth. Keto had exhibited signs of stress before. Internal documents later revealed that Keto was considered uncontrollable and showed signs of mild aggression during training. Behavioral evaluations described him as socially isolated, dominant, and inconsistent in responses. And the protocols in place hadn't worked. Martinez's death wasn't just tragic, it was preventable. But his name never made headlines like Dawn's did. No massive documentary, no protests, no policy shifts, just another warning ignored. Orcas don't belong in tanks. They belong in the sea, with their pods, their freedom, and their dignity. Alexis Martinez should not be forgotten, and Keto should never have been there in the first place. All these tragic encounters, but which of these attacks had you on the edge of your seat? Drop your pick in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe.